The walnut music box still sits on our mantel. One corner is darker than the others because I had to rebuild it from splintered wood. There is a thin seam near the hinge that no amount of sanding could completely hide. Hannah likes that seam. She says it reminds her that repaired things don't have to pretend they were never broken. I didn't understand what she meant the day she walked into my shop carrying that music box against her chest. I understand now. Because the first thing Hannah ever trusted me to repair wasn't made of walnut. It was hope. My name is Jonah Reed. I was 34 that spring, and I repaired old furniture in Hendersonville, North Carolina. Chairs mostly, tables, cabinets, the occasional chest that someone's grandfather had built with stubborn hands and no measuring tape. My workshop sat behind a narrow brick storefront 2 streets from Maine. The sign above the door said Reed Restoration in faded gold letters. My father had painted them 23 years earlier. He had taught me the trade. He also taught me that most damaged things weren't ruined. You just have to know what you're looking at, he'd say. Sometimes a chair needed glue. Sometimes a drawer needed a new runner. Sometimes wood had warped because someone stored it too close to a heater. And sometimes a piece had been neglected so long that restoring it meant taking almost everything apart before it could become useful again. Dad died when I was 29. After that, I kept the shop exactly the way he'd left it. His coffee mug remained on a shelf near the window. His old measuring tape stayed in the top drawer of his workbench. I knew that wasn't particularly healthy. I also didn't care. The shop was where I still knew who I was. Outside it, my life was quieter. I lived alone in a 2-bedroom house 7 miles outside town. There was a maple dining table in my kitchen that I'd built when I was 26. I'd made it for a life I assumed was coming. A wife. Children. Sunday breakfasts with too many plates. That life never arrived. There wasn't some great tragedy behind it. I had dated. I'd even come close to marriage once. But my father's health began failing around the same time my relationship did, and after both were gone, I stopped trying very hard. Work filled the days. The house held the nights. I told myself that was enough. Most lies become comfortable if you repeat them quietly. It was a rainy Tuesday when Hannah Mercer came through my shop door. The bell above it gave one tired jingle. I was sanding an oak chair and didn't look up immediately. Be with you in a second. No hurry. Her voice made me raise my head. She stood near the entrance in a light gray raincoat, holding a small wooden box with both hands. Her dark blonde hair had caught some rain. A few damp strands rested against her cheek. She seemed about my age, maybe a year younger. There was nothing dramatic about her. No movie entrance. No thunder. Just a woman standing in my father's old shop while rain tapped against the glass. But I remember thinking that she had the saddest calm face I'd ever seen. Not crying. Not upset. Just tired in a way sleep probably couldn't fix. She approached the counter. I was told you're the person to bring this to. She placed the music box down carefully. I wiped sawdust from my hands. Who told you that? Mrs. Bell at the antique store. That explains it. Is that good? It means she has probably promised you I can perform a miracle. A tiny smile appeared. She said you were stubborn. That sounds more accurate. I turned the box around. It was walnut, maybe 40 years old. The lid had split near one hinge, and the corner had broken away badly. What happened? I dropped it. She said that too quickly. I glanced at her. Moving? She nodded. One box slipped. This was inside. I lifted the lid carefully. A small brass mechanism sat beneath a faded velvet lining. Does it still play? It did before. I turned the tiny key. The mechanism clicked twice. Then stopped. Her face changed. It was slight, but I saw it. Her eyes dropped to the box. Can you fix it? Probably. I don't promise until I open something up. She pressed her lips together. Fair. I noticed a narrow silver chain at her throat. A wedding ring hung from it. I looked away before she noticed me noticing. Does the box have sentimental value? Her hand moved instinctively toward the ring. Yes, that was all she said. I wrote down her name and phone number. Hannah Mercer. Her address was a cottage on Laurel Ridge Road. I knew the place. White siding. Deep porch. Old dogwood tree near the mailbox. It had belonged to an elderly woman named June Harper, who came into my father's shop years earlier. You bought Mrs. Harper's place? Hannah's eyebrows rose. You knew her? Everybody knew June. She was my grandmother. That surprised me. I didn't know she had family coming back here. I'm not exactly back. The words came softly. What does that mean? She gave me a polite smile. It means I'm still figuring things out. I didn't press. She tapped one finger against the music box. How long? 3 or 4 days. I can pay extra if you don't need to. I don't mind. Neither do I. She studied my face, perhaps deciding whether I was being kind or stubborn. Then she nodded. Call me when you know. I watched her leave. At the door, she stopped. Mr. Reed? Jonah. She tested my name quietly. If it can't be fixed, don't throw anything away. I wouldn't. Even the broken pieces. I keep everything until the customer tells me otherwise. That seemed to matter to her. Thank you. The bell jingled again. Then she disappeared into the rain. I stood there longer than necessary. After closing, I opened the box. The damage was worse than it looked. The hinge had ripped through the wood. One gear inside the mechanism had shifted. The lid had split along an old weak point. Repairing it would take patience. Then I found the inscription. It was beneath the velvet lining. 2 initials. H+A. Under them was a date from 12 years earlier. I stared at the ring of pale wood around the letters. I understood enough to stop being curious. I worked on the music box until almost 10. The next morning, Hannah came back. I hadn't called her. She walked through the door carrying 2 paper cups. I know this is annoying. What? Checking on it. It's been 18 hours, I know. She lifted the coffee. This is a bribe. That changes things. I accepted 1 cup. Mrs. Bell told me you drink coffee black. Mrs. Bell needs a hobby. Apparently her hobby is you. I laughed. Hannah did too. It changed her whole face. That caught me off guard more than it should have. She stepped closer to the workbench. The music box lay in pieces on a towel. Her smile vanished. Oh, it looks worse because it's apart. I wasn't prepared for that. Most people aren't. She leaned over slightly. You can put it back? Yes, how do you know? Because I haven't found anything I can't replace or repair. She pointed at the cracked lid. Even that? I'll have to fit new walnut into the missing corner. So, part of it won't be original. No, her eyes stayed on the damaged wood. Then, is it still the same box? I thought she was asking about furniture. It took me months to understand she wasn't. It depends what makes it yours. She turned toward me. What do you mean? If the only thing that matters is every piece staying exactly the same, then no, it won't be. I touched the brass mechanism, but if what matters is what it carries, then replacing one damaged piece doesn't erase the rest. Hannah became very still. The shop felt quieter. Then she picked up her coffee. My husband gave it to me. There it was. I said nothing. He died. I'm sorry, 2 years ago. She glanced toward the window. Almost 2.5. I wanted to say something useful. There aren't many useful things. I'm still sorry. She nodded. Thank you. I waited. She seemed to appreciate that. People often rush to fill grief with words. Maybe silence is kinder. After a minute, Hannah touched the chain around her neck. His name was Aaron. I nodded. We were married 9 years. She gave a small breath that almost became a laugh. He bought this at a flea market on our first anniversary. We didn't have much money. I saw it and loved it, but I told him it was too expensive. She touched the broken corner. He went back the next morning. Sounds like he paid attention. He did. There was affection in her voice. Not only pain. That told me something important. She hadn't come to escape a bad marriage. She had lost a good one. I suddenly felt embarrassed for noticing how pretty she was. Hannah must have read something in my expression. I'm sorry. You didn't ask for my life story. I asked whether the box mattered. It does. Then the story matters too. Her eyes returned to mine. A few seconds passed. She picked up her coffee. You're strange, Jonah Reed. I've heard worse. I meant it nicely. I'll take it nicely. She smiled again. That became the beginning. Hannah started stopping by every afternoon. Never for long. 5 minutes. 10. Sometimes with coffee. Once with 2 blueberry muffins because she'd tried baking and had produced 12 more than one person could reasonably eat. She watched me rebuild the corner. I showed her how I cut a tiny walnut patch to fit the missing section. You'll see the repair, I warned. I think I want to. Most customers want invisible. I'm tired of invisible things. I didn't ask what she meant. I was learning that Hannah spoke about herself sideways. 3 days later, the music box played again. She stood across the workbench while I turned the key. The melody filled the shop, nothing complicated. Just soft notes from an old mechanism. Hannah covered her mouth. Her eyes closed. I reached toward the key to stop it. She shook her head. No, so I let it play. When the final note faded, she opened her eyes. There were tears on her cheeks. She wiped them away quickly. Sorry, you don't have to apologize. She laughed through the tears. I've become one of those women who cries in repair shops. I'll add tissues to the invoice. That earned me a real laugh. She reached for her purse. How much? I told her. Her eyebrows drew together. That's too low. It's the price. You spent hours on it. It's still the price. Jonah, Hannah. She folded her arms. I folded mine. She narrowed her eyes. Mrs. Bell was right. Again, upsetting, stubborn, occupational requirement. She paid. Then neither of us moved. The obvious thing was for her to leave. She seemed to know it. I knew it. Still, she stayed. Would you like dinner? I blinked. She immediately looked horrified by her own question. I mean as a thank you. Right, not a date. Understood. I don't date. That came sharper. Almost defensive. I didn't know what expression crossed my face, but she softened. Sorry, no need. It's just. She touched the ring at her throat. I had my person, I understood. You don't owe me an explanation. I don't want you getting the wrong idea. I repair furniture, Hannah. I'm not very fast with ideas. She smiled faintly. Is that a yes to dinner? Depends on. Can you cook better than you bake? Her mouth opened. Then she laughed. 7 tomorrow. I'll bring something edible. Now you're uninvited. I went anyway. The next evening I drove up Laurel Ridge Road with a loaf of bread and a jar of apple butter from the market. June Harper's old cottage looked smaller than I remembered. The porch railing leaned near one end. 2 shutters needed paint. There were moving boxes stacked behind the front window. Hannah opened the door wearing jeans and a soft blue sweater. You came. You invited me. I know. Was I not supposed to? No. She stepped aside. I just haven't had many people over. The cottage smelled like rosemary and roasted chicken. The kitchen was warm. There were still boxes everywhere. But Hannah had made one corner feel lived in. A lamp glowed beside an old sofa. Fresh flowers stood in a chipped pitcher. The music box sat on the mantel. I noticed that immediately. You gave it a place. It's the first thing I unpacked. Good choice. Her gaze followed mine. I played it this morning. Did it behave? It did. Then my work here is done. She pointed toward the table. Your work here is eating. Dinner was simple. Chicken, potatoes, green beans. Hannah apologized twice for the potatoes until I told her I had eaten gas station sandwiches for dinner 3 nights that week. That's horrible. It's efficient. That's not the word. What word? Sad, harsh, accurate. I couldn't argue. After dinner, we took our tea onto the porch. The rain had cleared. The evening air smelled like wet leaves. Hannah tucked one leg beneath herself on an old wicker chair. I glanced toward the damaged railing. That's going to come loose. She followed my eyes. Don't. Don't what? Start fixing my house. I'm not. Your face says you're measuring it. My face does not measure. It absolutely does. I laughed. She wrapped both hands around her cup. For a while we listened to insects in the trees. Then she said, Aaron would have liked you. I didn't know what to do with that. That's an unusual compliment. He fixed things too. Furniture? Everything badly. I smiled. He once repaired our bathroom sink with tape. Temporary fix. He left it there 8 months. That's commitment. She laughed. Then her expression softened. He would have liked this place. The cottage? Yeah, did he know your grandmother? She adored him. Hannah stared into her tea. We always talked about leaving Atlanta eventually. Somewhere quieter. I nodded. Did you move here because of that? She hesitated. Partly, there was something unfinished in the answer. I waited. She didn't continue. Instead, she glanced at me. What about you? What about me? Why are you single? I almost choked on my tea. She laughed. Too direct? A little. You asked about my dead husband. You volunteered your dead husband. True, I leaned back. My life got small. Her expression changed. What does that mean? My dad got sick. Work got busy. I stopped going places unless someone paid me to repair something there. No broken heart? Not recently. But there was one. Years ago. What happened? We wanted different lives. She nodded. That can hurt too. It did. Did you love her? I thought I did. That's not an answer. Maybe it's the only honest one I've got. She considered that. Do you want to get married someday? Another direct question. I used to assume I would. And now? I stared out toward the dark yard. I try not to make plans for people I haven't met. Hannah went quiet. A car passed far down the road. Then she said, I don't think I could do it again. I knew what she meant. Marriage? Love, her thumb moved over the rim of her cup. I don't think that part of me works anymore. I chose my words carefully. Maybe it doesn't have to work right now. She looked toward me. That's easy for you to say. Probably people tell you to move forward. I didn't. No, people tell you Aaron would want you happy? Constantly. I won't say that either. Her shoulders loosened. Thank you, I didn't know him. Exactly, I don't get to tell you what he would want. She stared at me. Something shifted between us. Small, quiet, then the porch railing creaked beside her. She jumped. I pointed. Now can I fix it? Hannah laughed so hard she nearly spilled her tea. I repaired the railing Saturday. She argued. I ignored her. She tried to pay me. I ignored that too. By noon she had accepted the situation and was sitting on the porch steps with a bowl of sliced peaches. You missed a spot. I'm going home. You just got here. Then stop supervising. She grinned. That smile was becoming dangerous. Not because she intended anything by it. Because I did. I liked hearing her laugh. I liked seeing her name on my phone. I liked that she remembered how I took my coffee. I liked being expected somewhere. Those are simple things. Simple things can undo a lonely man. Over the next month, Hannah became part of my ordinary days. She started teaching 2 afternoons a week at a local art center. Children came home with painted rocks and clay bowls that Hannah called masterpieces with complete seriousness. On Thursdays, she stopped at my shop afterward. Sometimes we ate at the diner. Sometimes we sat on the workbench and shared whatever she'd brought. Once it was homemade banana bread. This is good, I told her. I bought it. That explains everything. She hit my shoulder with a napkin. Another afternoon, she came in carrying a small wooden stool. Emergency. I examined it. One leg was loose. This is your emergency? A 6-year-old named Piper stood on it today. Then yes. Can you fix it by tomorrow? Probably she gave me a warning look. Definitely thank you. She hopped onto the edge of my workbench. You know what I realized? That I deserve payment? That you never leave this place. I leave. Going home does not count. I buy groceries. Also doesn't count. I went to the hardware store Tuesday. She stared at me. Jonah, what? When was the last time you did something fun? I find wood glue enjoyable. That's deeply concerning. She made me go to the Saturday market. I resisted until she threatened to ask Mrs. Bell to intervene. We walked between produce stalls and craft tables. Hannah bought honey she didn't need. I bought a bag of roasted pecans. She stopped at a stand selling handmade pottery and picked up a green mug. This feels like you. A mug feels like me? Plain, heavy, almost impossible to break. That's insulting. It's affectionate. She bought it before I could stop her. The next Monday, she appeared at the shop and replaced my chipped paper cup with the green mug. I still have it. That Saturday at the market was when I almost held her hand. We were crossing a busy street. A truck came around the corner faster than it should have. I touched Hannah's elbow and guided her back. Nothing dramatic happened. The truck passed. But she didn't move away immediately. My hand stayed near hers. Her fingers brushed mine. Both of us noticed. Hannah pulled back. I'm sorry. For what? She shook her head. Nothing. We crossed the street. She became quieter after that. At the bakery, she studied muffins as if they required serious thought. I knew enough not to ask. When we reached her car, she turned toward me. This has been nice. The words sounded like a goodbye. It has. I mean all of it. I know. Her eyes were troubled. I don't want to hurt you. I felt my stomach tighten. You haven't. Not yet. Hannah, I've seen the way you... She stopped. The way I what? She shook her head. I should go. She opened the driver's door. I could have pushed. I didn't. Drive safely. She glanced at me. That's it? What do you want me to say? I don't know. Neither do I. She stood there another second. Then she got into her car. Sunday passed without hearing from her. Monday too. On Tuesday morning, I found the green mug beside my coffee maker and felt foolishly angry at it. Then, just after lunch, the bell rang. Hannah walked in. She carried a paper bag. I brought sandwiches. I kept sanding. Bribery again? Maybe. What did you do? Nothing. Then what's the sandwich for? She placed the bag beside me. An apology. I stopped. For disappearing. You don't owe me daily attendance. I know. Then no apology needed. She frowned. You could make this harder. Why? Because then I could be annoyed with you. I'm sure you'll find a reason. That got a reluctant smile. She sat on the stool near my bench. I panicked. I set the sandpaper down. About? You. That answer landed harder than expected. Hannah took a breath. I like being around you. I like being around you too. That's the problem. I've had worse problems. Jonah, I'm listening. She touched the ring at her throat. I loved Aaron. I know. No, I mean I really loved him. I'm not arguing. He wasn't perfect. Neither was I. We fought about money. He left wet towels on the bed. I hated how he drove. He hated how I loaded a dishwasher. I smiled. He sounds dangerous. She almost smiled too. Then her eyes filled, but I knew who I was with him. I stayed quiet. When he died, everybody kept telling me I'd find myself again. But the truth is, I didn't know which version of me they meant. She wiped one eye. Wife was gone. Our plans were gone. The future we'd been talking about was gone. I leaned against the bench. So you came here? Yes. Why Hendersonville? My grandmother left me the cottage. I know, that's not the whole reason. There was the unfinished thing again. She glanced down. I needed somewhere nobody knew me as Aaron's widow. That made sense. And now? Now I don't know. She laughed weakly. I came here to be nobody for a while. You're not very good at it. Apparently she looked at me. And then you showed up. You walked into my shop. Details, I smiled. She didn't. If I care about you, I don't know what that says about what I had. It says you care about me. That's too simple. Maybe, it doesn't feel simple. I didn't say it had to. Her voice dropped. What if I'm not capable of giving you what you want? I haven't told you what I want. You don't have to. We sat there with the question between us. Finally, I said, eat your sandwich. She stared. That's your answer? You said you're scared. Yes, I heard you. And? And you don't owe me a decision today. Her eyes softened. You're very frustrating. I've been told. We ate. She stayed until closing. Nothing changed that day. Everything changed anyway. A week later, I finally showed Hannah the maple table in my house. She'd come over because my kitchen faucet had started dripping, and she wanted the satisfaction of watching me fail at plumbing. I thought you fixed everything, she said. Wood, you mocked Aaron for using tape. Because tape is wrong. You're on your third wrench. Go sit down. She wandered toward the dining table. Her fingers moved along the edge. You made this. Yes, it's beautiful. Thank you. It's too big for one person. I tightened a fitting beneath the sink. I know. Why did you build it? I hesitated. I was 26. That doesn't answer anything. I thought I'd need it. She became quiet. I stood. What? Nothing. You have a face. Apparently yours isn't the only one. I dried my hands. She touched the table again. Did you imagine children here? I nodded. A wife? Probably. And then you kept it. Where else would I put it? You could sell it. I don't want to. Why? I had no clever answer. Maybe I still want to need it. Hannah's eyes lifted to mine. I immediately wished I'd said less. She swallowed. Then the faucet dripped behind us. Once, twice, she laughed. Your sink is saving you. I knew I liked that sink. The moment passed. But not completely. 3 nights later, Hannah called me at 11:30. I answered on the second ring. Everything okay? Yes, a pause. No, I sat up. What happened? Nothing happened. Hannah, I got an email. From who? Another pause. My old employer. I waited. They want me back in Atlanta. That woke me completely. For what? My old position. Better salary. Do you want it? I don't know. That's not what I asked. I don't know. Her voice shook. I got out of bed. Are you at home? Yes, do you want company? Silence then, please. I drove over. The porch light was on. Hannah sat at the kitchen table with her laptop open. 2 mugs of tea steamed between us. The job offer was real. Good money. Good benefits. A start date 8 weeks away. I used to love that job, she said. What changed? Aaron died. I nodded. Everything in Atlanta had him attached to it. Then why go back? She closed the laptop. Because maybe that's where my life is. You have a life here. Her eyes met mine. Do I? The question hurt. You have the cottage. The art center. Friends, you. I didn't answer. She stood and walked toward the window. Especially you. I watched her. I think that's why I'm scared to stay. There it was. Not rejection. Worse, possibility. What happens if you go? I work. And? I figure things out. You can figure things out here. That's exactly what I'm afraid of. I stood. Hannah, I can't decide this for you. I know. But don't leave because something good frightened you. She turned. What if the good thing doesn't last? Then it doesn't. Her eyes filled. You make that sound survivable. You're standing here. She flinched. I regretted the words immediately. I'm sorry. No. She shook her head. You're right. Hannah, I am standing here. She pressed both hands against the counter. And I know that means I'm supposed to be grateful. Strong, ready. You aren't supposed to be anything. She looked exhausted. I need time. Take it. And you? What about me? What do you do while I decide whether I'm leaving? I picked up my jacket. I keep repairing furniture. Jonah, I stopped at the door. Her voice was softer. I'm sorry. I know. I drove home feeling as if the road had changed while I wasn't watching. For the next 2 weeks, we tried pretending the offer didn't exist. It didn't work. Hannah still visited. We still had coffee. But every conversation had an expiration date sitting inside it. Then Beth arrived. I met her on a Friday afternoon. Hannah had asked me to come for dinner. When I reached the cottage, a dark sedan with Georgia plates sat in the driveway. Hannah opened the door. Her smile was nervous. Jonah, this is Beth. A woman in her early 40s stood near the fireplace. She had Aaron's eyes. I knew that without ever seeing him in person. There was a framed photograph on the bookshelf. Same brown eyes, same serious brow. Beth extended her hand. Aaron's sister. I shook it. Nice to meet you. I've heard about you. Hannah winced. Beth. What? You have. Beth smiled, but it never reached her eyes. Dinner was polite, painfully polite. Beth asked about my shop. I asked about Atlanta. Hannah attempted to keep the conversation moving. Then Beth noticed the music box. She went still. You repaired that? She was looking at me. Yes, Beth walked to the mantel. Aaron searched half the city for this after Hannah saw it. I know. Hannah stared at her plate. Beth touched the lid. I haven't heard it in years. Hannah's voice was quiet. I couldn't play it. Until now. Something sharp lived beneath Beth's words. Hannah heard it. So? Beth turned. Nothing, say it. I didn't say anything. You didn't have to. I put down my fork. Maybe I should go. No, Hannah said. Beth folded her arms. This isn't about Jonah. It clearly is. Beth's face softened for half a second, then grief hardened it again. I'm worried about you. I'm 35 years old. I know. Then stop treating me like I'm about to break. Beth stared at her. Because I remember when you did. Silence. Hannah's face drained. Beth immediately regretted it. I shouldn't have said that. No, you wanted to. Hannah, you came here because I told you about the job. I came because you sounded confused. I am confused. And maybe getting away from this place would help. Hannah looked at her. This place? Beth's eyes flicked toward me. I understood. Not the cottage. Me. I stood. I think I will go. Hannah followed me onto the porch. I'm sorry. You don't need to be. She's not usually like this. She's grieving too. Hannah closed her eyes. That's what makes it worse. I wanted to touch her. I didn't. Call me tomorrow. She nodded. I reached my truck before Beth's voice stopped me. Jonah? I turned. She stood near the porch steps. Hannah had gone inside. Beth walked toward me. I owe you an apology. You don't owe me anything. I was rude. A little. That almost made her smile. Then she looked toward the cottage. She told me you were kind. I said nothing. Beth crossed her arms against the cool evening. After Aaron died, Hannah stayed with me for 4 months. I listened. She barely ate. She couldn't sleep. She'd wake up and forget for 3 seconds, and then remember. Beth's voice cracked. I watched those 3 seconds disappear from her face every morning. I felt something tighten in my chest. She got better. She survived. Beth corrected me gently. There's a difference. I know. Do you? Her question wasn't cruel. It was frightened. I know enough not to ask her to forget him. Beth studied me. Everybody says that. I'm not everybody. No, you're the man she's considering changing her life for. She hasn't said that. She doesn't have to. Beth rubbed her hands together. I lost my brother too. I know. No, you don't. She took a breath. I'm not trying to be cruel. But Hannah is the last person who remembers Aaron the way I do. That was her fear. Not that Hannah would be hurt. Not only that, Beth was afraid moving forward would leave her alone with the past. If Hannah loves someone again, she whispered, I don't know where that leaves him. I understood then. Where he's always been. Beth's eyes lifted. In her life. But different. Yes, she swallowed. And where does that leave you? I don't know yet. That's what scares me. Me too. She hadn't expected that. I continued. I don't have a plan to rescue Hannah. I don't think she needs one. Beth's expression softened. I'm not asking her for promises. Then what are you asking? Nothing she doesn't choose. Beth looked toward the house again. I can't watch her fall apart. Neither can I. Then maybe step back. That sentence stayed with me. I drove home thinking about it. Maybe Beth was right. Maybe Hannah needed space. Maybe caring about her meant giving it. So I did. I stopped calling. Not angrily. Not as punishment. I simply stepped back. 3 days passed. Then 4. Hannah didn't call either. On the 5th afternoon, she came to my shop. She looked furious. Why are you avoiding me? I set down the clamp I was holding. I'm not. You haven't called. You asked for time. I didn't ask you to disappear. I thought space might help. Did Beth tell you that? I hesitated. That was enough. Hannah's jaw tightened. She did. She was worried. So you two discussed me? No, you discussed whether you should stay away from me. She told me what she was afraid of. And you listened? Yes. Hannah laughed once. It wasn't happy. Of course. What does that mean? It means everybody still gets a vote in my life except me. That's not what happened. My mother thinks I should go back to Atlanta. Beth thinks I should stop getting attached here. My old boss thinks work will fix me. She pointed toward herself. And now you think distance is what's best. I didn't say that. You did it. I took a breath. You're right, that stopped her. I shouldn't have decided for you. Her anger wavered. I was trying not to push. I know, but I made the decision anyway. She looked down. I'm tired, Jonah. I stepped closer. Then tell me what you want. Her eyes filled. I don't know. That's allowed. No, it isn't. Why? Because the job needs an answer Monday. I stared. Monday? She nodded. I didn't tell you the deadline. Why not? Because if I told you, it became real. She sat on the stool. I came here because Aaron and I used to talk about this place. I leaned against the bench. He loved my grandmother's cottage. We stayed there one summer when the air conditioner in our apartment died. A faint smile crossed her face. He said someday we'd live somewhere with a porch and a yard. She looked toward the window. When Grandma left me the house, I couldn't come. Not while Aaron was alive. We had jobs, friends, plans. Her voice thinned. Then he died, and suddenly I owned the exact life we'd talked about. I finally understood. This wasn't an escape, no. It was your plan together. She nodded. I thought coming here might make me feel close to him. Did it? At first. She wiped her cheek. Then it made me angry. Why? Because he wasn't here. I didn't speak. I sat on that porch the first night and hated him. The confession came out raw. I hated a dead man for not keeping a promise he never chose to break. Her shoulders shook. Then I hated myself for hating him. I crouched in front of her. Hannah, that's who I am, Jonah. Her wet eyes met mine. Not some brave widow rebuilding her life. I'm angry. I'm guilty. Half the time I don't know whether staying in that cottage honors him or traps me. Okay, she stared. Okay? Yes, that's all? That's a lot. A small laugh escaped through her tears. I continued. You loved him. Yes. You were angry he died. Yes. You came here because of a future you were supposed to share. She nodded. And somewhere along the way you built a life that belongs to you. Her face tightened. That feels wrong. Why? Because I like it. I understood. The art center. The porch. Our coffee. Me, if I stay, she whispered. I have to admit this place isn't Aaron's dream anymore. No, what is it then? Yours, she stared at me. The shop was silent except for the old clock above the door. I don't know how to make it mine. You already have. How? You planted flowers he never picked. You painted the kitchen yellow because you like yellow. You teach children 2 afternoons a week because it makes you happy. I almost added myself. I didn't. Hannah heard it anyway. And you? I swallowed. I'm not going to pretend I don't care about you. Her eyes closed. But I'm also not going to make Monday's decision for you. What if I leave? I'll miss you. What if I stay? I'll still let you decide what happens next. She opened her eyes. You're making this very difficult. I've heard that before. She smiled through tears. Then she reached out. Her fingers wrapped around mine. It was the first time she chose to touch me. Neither of us moved. She whispered, I'm scared. I know. What if I stay because of you? Don't. Her hand tightened. What? Stay because you want your life here. And if you're part of that life, then I'll be grateful. She began crying again. Quietly, I stayed with her until she stopped. Monday came. Hannah declined the Atlanta job. She didn't tell me until Tuesday. She walked into the shop holding 2 coffees. I stared at them. What did you do? She smiled. I stayed. My heart kicked hard. Because you wanted to? Because I wanted to. Good, her smile slipped. That's all you're going to say? What else should I say? I don't know. Something. I stepped closer. I'm glad you're here. She looked down. I'm glad too. That was the closest we came to saying what both of us knew. For 2 more weeks. Then Aaron's birthday arrived. I didn't know the date. Beth did. She came back to Hendersonville. This time she called me before arriving. Don't disappear, she said. I smiled into the phone. I wasn't planning to. I handled things badly. You were scared. I still am. Me too. She sighed. Hannah told me she turned down Atlanta. She did. Was that because of you? No good. A pause. That answer made me like you more. I'll try not to let it happen again. Beth laughed. The 3 of us ate dinner at the cottage that Saturday. It was easier. Not easy, but easier. Afterward, Hannah brought the music box to the table. Beth touched it. Can we play it? Hannah nodded. The melody filled the room. Beth cried. Hannah cried. I sat quietly. When it ended, Beth reached across the table and took Hannah's hand. I miss him. So do I. I don't want you to stop. I won't. Beth looked toward me. Then back at Hannah. I think I was afraid you'd be happy and I'd be left behind. Hannah squeezed her hand. Beth, I know how selfish that sounds. It doesn't. Beth wiped her face. I don't want my fear to become your cage. Hannah stood and hugged her. I went outside. That moment belonged to them. A few minutes later, Hannah joined me on the porch. Night had settled over the trees. She stood beside me. Thank you. For leaving? For knowing when? I nodded. She rested her arms on the railing. Beth likes you now. Terrible news, Hannah smiled. Then her expression changed. I've been thinking. Usually dangerous. I'm serious. So am I. She nudged my arm. Then she looked toward the yard. I thought turning down Atlanta would make everything clear. It didn't? No, what isn't clear? Us, there it was. I could hear my heartbeat. What about us? You know. I'd like to hear you say it. She gave me an annoyed look. You're cruel. Occasionally, Hannah took a breath. I care about you. I care about you too. More than I planned. Same, and that scares me. I know. She turned. No, Jonah, I don't think you do. Her eyes were wet again, but she wasn't crying. If I let myself love you, then I can lose you. I nodded. Yes. She seemed surprised. That's your answer? I can't promise you won't. That's horrible. It's true. I know. She turned away. Aaron was healthy. He was 37. He went to work on a normal Thursday. I stayed still. By dinner, I was sitting in a hospital waiting room. Her voice cracked. There was no warning. I felt helpless. I don't know how people do that twice. What? Love somebody enough that losing them can destroy the shape of your life. I moved closer. She shook her head. I know everybody thinks this is about guilt. Isn't it? Some, she pressed a hand to her chest. But mostly I'm terrified. I wanted to hold her. I waited. She whispered, I survived Aaron because I had no choice. Her voice nearly disappeared. I don't know if I could survive losing somebody again. That was the real obstacle. Not Beth, not Atlanta, not Aaron's memory. Fear. Hannah had already learned that good things could vanish without permission. Loving me meant agreeing to risk that again. There was no clever answer. No promise that could make death impossible. So I told her the truth. I'm scared too. She looked at me. My dad died after being sick for years. I knew it was coming, and it still emptied the house. I leaned against the railing. I've spent 5 years keeping my life small enough that nothing could take much from me. Hannah's face softened. Jonah, I thought that was peace. I shook my head. It wasn't. She waited. It was just less to lose. Her breath caught. I looked at her. You aren't the only one risking something. Silence, then why would we do it? She asked. Because maybe protecting ourselves from grief also protects us from everything else. She stared at me. I reached for her hand. This time she let me take it. For several seconds we stood together. Then Hannah stepped back. I'm not ready. The words hurt. I nodded. Okay. Her face crumpled. Don't be kind right now. What do you want me to be? Angry. Why? Because then leaving would be easier. My stomach dropped. Leaving? Not Hendersonville. She wiped her face. You. I let go of her hand. Hannah, I need distance. Is that what you want? I don't know. Then don't ask me to decide. I'm not. You are if you disappear. She closed her eyes. I can't breathe when I think about this. That frightened me more than rejection. So I nodded. Okay, her eyes opened. I'll give you room. Thank you. I left the cottage. That walk from her porch to my truck felt much longer than it was. I didn't sleep. The next morning I went to the shop before sunrise. I worked. That's what I do when I can't solve something. There was an old oak cabinet waiting for me. I stripped paint. I sanded doors. I replaced a hinge. None of it helped. Around 10, Beth came in. She didn't bother with hello. She's packing. My hand stopped. What? Not to move. Beth shook her head. She's putting away anything that reminds her of you. I looked down. She asked for space. Jonah, I'm respecting it. There's respecting space, and there's hiding. That irritated me. You told me to step back. I was wrong. That's convenient. Beth accepted that. Yes. I set the tool down. What do you want from me? I want you to understand something. She stepped closer. Hannah isn't afraid you will replace Aaron. I know. She's afraid you'll become important enough to lose. I said nothing. Beth's eyes filled. She did the same thing after Aaron died. She stopped visiting people because she couldn't stand caring about anyone else. My chest tightened. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't understand it either. Beth took a slow breath. She isn't choosing between you and Aaron. What is she choosing? Whether being alive is worth being vulnerable. That sentence stayed in the air. I thought about my maple table, 8 empty chairs around something I'd built for people who never arrived. I thought about the quiet house, the empty evenings, all the years I'd called that peace. Maybe Hannah and I had done the same thing differently. She had lost love and became afraid to hold it. I had avoided love and called the absence safety. Neither of us was living much. I grabbed my jacket. Beth stepped aside. Where are you going? to stop hiding. Hannah's car was in the driveway. The porch light was off. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again. Hannah, footsteps, the door opened. She wore an old sweatshirt and no makeup. Her eyes were swollen. "What are you doing here?" "Talking. I asked for space." "I know." "Then why?" "Because I was using your fear as an excuse for mine." She froze. I stepped onto the porch but didn't enter. "You don't have to invite me inside." "Jonah, just listen." Her arms wrapped around herself. I took a breath. "I can't promise I'll never hurt you." She looked away. "I can't promise I won't get sick someday. I can't promise there won't be bad mornings, arguments, disappointment, or loss. Please stop." "No." She stared at me. Not angry. Terrified. "You wanted truth." My voice softened. "That's the truth." A tear slipped down her cheek. "I can't do this. I know you think that. I loved Aaron. I know. I still love him. I know. I still talk to him sometimes." "Okay, you say that now. I'll say it tomorrow." "You don't understand." "Then explain it." Her shoulders shook. "What if I love you, and part of me still wishes he were here? Then part of you wishes he were here. What if I hear that music box and miss dancing with him? Then you miss dancing with him. What if I compare you? Then you compare us." She stared at me. "I'm not asking you to make 9 years disappear." She covered her mouth. I continued carefully. "I don't want Aaron's chair." Her eyes widened. "I don't want his memories. I don't want his anniversaries. I don't want the part of your heart that belongs to a life you already lived." I stepped closer. "I want whatever part of your life is still unwritten." Hannah began crying. Not quietly now. I waited. She wiped her cheeks. I thought I was done. My throat tightened. Done with what? With love. She shook her head. "I thought I got one life like that. One person. And when Aaron died, that was it." She pressed both hands against her chest. "I thought if I never loved anybody again, then at least I could never lose that much again." I could barely speak. "So you were going to spend the rest of your life making sure nothing mattered enough to hurt?" Her eyes closed. "Maybe." I thought about my empty table. "I tried that." She opened her eyes. "Did it work?" "No." Silence. Then Hannah whispered, "I don't know how to start over." There it was. Not a refusal, a question. I stepped close enough to touch her, but I didn't. She needed to choose that too. Her voice broke. "What if I'm too late for another love?" I shook my head. "You're not." "What if I don't know how?" "You don't have to." She stared at me through tears. "What if I already had the best thing I was ever going to get?" I took her hand. My own was shaking. And I finally said the sentence I'd been carrying for months. "Then let me be your second chance." Hannah stopped breathing for a second. Her fingers tightened around mine. I didn't say anything else. The words needed room. Rain began tapping softly on the porch roof. She laughed once through her tears. "That's a terrible amount of pressure." I smiled. It sounded better in my head. She cried harder. I laughed too. Then she stepped toward me. "Jonah." "Yeah?" "I can't promise forever." I didn't ask. I might panic, probably. I might miss him, I know. I might need days when you don't try to fix me. I repair furniture. You're impossible. Occupational requirement. That finally did it. She put both arms around me. I held her. Carefully at first. Then fully. Her face rested against my chest. I could feel her crying through my shirt. I didn't tell her everything would be fine. I didn't promise we'd never hurt. I didn't tell her Aaron would approve. I simply stayed. After a minute, Hannah whispered, "I'm still scared." "So am I." She pulled back enough to see me. "That's supposed to comfort me?" "A little." "It doesn't. Give it time." She smiled. Then she reached up and kissed me. It was gentle, brief, almost uncertain. When she moved away, her cheeks turned pink. I probably looked worse. "Well," she murmured. "Yeah, was that okay?" I laughed. Hannah. What? Yes, she smiled. A real smile. Not the careful one she'd worn into my shop. Not the polite one she'd used when grief made strangers uncomfortable. Hers, I touched her cheek. She leaned into my hand. Then she glanced toward the open doorway. Do you want tea? I stared at her. After that, what? Tea? I don't know what happens next. Apparently tea. I laughed. Tea sounds good. We went inside. The music box was gone from the mantel. I noticed. Hannah noticed me noticing. I packed it. Okay, she disappeared into the bedroom. A minute later, she returned carrying it. She set it back in its place. Then she turned the key. The old melody filled the cottage. Hannah listened. She cried again. But this time she held my hand while it played. We did not rush. That mattered. Our first date happened 2 weeks later, even though Hannah insisted we'd already had dozens of accidental ones. I took her to a little restaurant outside town. She wore a green dress. I wore a jacket Beth told me needed ironing. Halfway through dinner, Hannah smiled. What? Nothing, you have a face. I was thinking how weird this is. Good weird? She nodded. Terrifying weird. I'll take it. We kept going. Slowly, there were hard days. Aaron's wedding anniversary was one. Hannah called that morning and said she needed to be alone. I told her okay. At noon, she called again. Can you come over? I did. She had photographs spread across the kitchen table. Aaron at the beach. Aaron holding a ridiculous birthday cake. Aaron asleep with their old dog across his legs. Hannah watched me carefully. You don't have to do this. Do what? See him. I already know he existed. She swallowed. I want you to know who he was. So she told me. For 2 hours. I listened. There was pain in it. There was also laughter. When she finished, I understood something. Aaron wasn't my competition. He was part of the road that had brought Hannah to me. Erasing him would mean erasing part of her. I loved her too much to want that. Beth eventually became my friend. A bossy friend. When Hannah and I had been together 6 months, Beth visited the shop carrying curtains. What am I supposed to do with these? Hem them. I repair wood. Hannah says you can sew. Hannah lies. Beth placed the curtains on the counter. Figure it out. I did. When Hannah found out, she laughed until she cried. A year after she first brought the music box into my shop, I asked her to marry me. Not at a restaurant. Not under string lights. I did it in my kitchen. At the maple table. The one I'd built 8 years earlier. Hannah had come over with groceries. She found 2 plates set out. Then she noticed a small box beside hers. She stared at me. Jonah. I had a speech. Her hands flew to her mouth. Had? I forgot most of it. She started crying. You're ruining this. I'm trying. Try better. So I took both her hands. I built this table when I was 26, because I thought someday I'd have a reason to fill it. She looked down at the maple surface. I kept it through every empty year because some part of me couldn't let go of that idea. Her eyes lifted. You gave me a reason. I opened the ring box. Hannah Mercer, will you build the rest of this life with me? She laughed and cried at once. Yes, then she made me ask again because she said she'd spoken too quickly. So I did. She said yes slower. We married that autumn. Small ceremony. 26 people. The cottage porch. Beth stood beside Hannah. Mrs. Bell cried loudly enough to embarrass everyone. My old shop sign hung behind the cake table because Hannah said my father needed to be there somehow. Before the ceremony, Hannah went inside alone. I knew why. The music box played softly through the open window. Nobody interrupted her. When she came back out, her eyes were wet. But she was smiling. She took my hands. And we got married. We live in the cottage now. I sold my house but kept the maple table. It sits in the dining room beneath the front window. It finally looks the way I imagined when I built it. Used, there are scratches already. One came from Beth dragging a serving dish across it. Another came from Hannah dropping a pair of scissors while working on an art project. I refuse to repair either. Hannah teaches at the art center 4 days a week now. I still run the shop. She still brings me coffee. Sometimes she walks through the door and puts a broken chair on my counter without asking if I'm busy. I complain. She ignores me. We are ordinary. I think that's the part neither of us expected to treasure. There are mornings when Hannah misses Aaron. There are days when grief arrives without warning. She doesn't apologize anymore. I don't ask her to. A photograph of him sits in a small album in the living room cabinet. His name is not forbidden in our house. Love should not need amnesia to feel secure. And strangely, allowing the past to exist made our present stronger. Hannah once told me she had believed moving forward meant walking away from everything behind her. She doesn't believe that anymore. Neither do I. You can carry something and still keep walking. The music box proved that before either of us understood it. Its walnut corner will always show where it broke. The melody still belongs to a marriage that mattered. But now the box sits above a table that finally has people around it. It carries an old song, a visible scar, and the sound of Hannah laughing from the next room. And that is enough for me.